What's up guys? Today we're going to check out Wonka on 4K Blu-ray. I'm not here to talk about how good or bad the movie is, I'm just going to share some thoughts on the audio and video quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot in 4.5K, it's got a 4K DI, it's rated PG, runtime is 116 minutes, aspect ratio is 239:1, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Before we take a look at the audio and see how active this mix is, if you don't know what the Atmos viewer is, you can find a link down below in this video's description that tells you all about it, what it does, and where you can get it. You can also find a list of all the gear that I use for these 4K reviews down there as well. Warner Brothers usually knocks it out of the park with their Atmos mixes, but I've noticed ever since Justice League, their mixes have been pretty lackluster. To be fair, most of the stuff coming out lately hasn't been all that great. I'm gonna put Wonka in that lackluster category. Looking at the Atmos viewer, we can see that only the lower channels are active, and this is during one of the musical numbers at 12 minutes in. You'd think with the hover chocolates floating in air on screen you'd hear some kind of top channel effects, but everything stays in the lower speakers, and most of the musical numbers play out the same exact way. That's not to say there's zero height channel activity, because they will kick on once in a while to add some musical extension. There's actually a couple of cool surround effects during the Scrub song at 19 minutes, and some decent jungle ambiance at 1 hour 2 minutes in. Of course, I do wish there's more standout surround moments to share with you guys, but there's just not much surround activity. If you're just watching this for the songs, then sure, it's got some nice lower channel soundstage with good instrumental clarity, and the dialogue always remained intelligible, so that's always a plus. And for the bass response, like the top channel Atmos effects, it was missing as well. You'd think for a musical there'd be reinforcement down low to give these songs more body and richness, but my subwoofers hardly had anything to do. There's even an explosion at 1 hour 20 minutes that just doesn't hit hard at all. And thank you to my Patreon supporters for making it possible for me to pick up Wonka on 4K Blu-ray, so I could bring you, the home theater movie loving community, this 4K review. If you want to support the channel and help me in making these videos every month, then consider joining my Patreon. Links can be found down below in this video's description. The video quality is the opposite of the audio quality. If you want that clean 4K HDR image, then this movie is going to be one to get. It's got some very crispy 4K shots with detail down to the finest little stitch. There are some smoother, softer shots, presumably to help with the blending of CG and live action elements, but it's still really clean looking, and the CG does look good. It can be noticeably kind of cartoony looking at times, but given the context and the fantastical nature of this movie, I think it all works really well together. As for the HDR, it's got a max CLL of 446 and a max FALL of 106, so it's not a crazy bright transfer. There's still plenty of HDR vividness with a rainbow of richly saturated colors throughout. Specular highlights can seem a touch hot, but not enough to where it was clipping detail, and on the other end of the spectrum, black levels didn't crush any details in the shadows. It's got a good mixture of doom and gloom shades and some richly saturated vibrancy, so your display will have plenty to showcase your 4K HDR abilities. So I'm gonna go with a 9.6 for video. For audio, it sounded the same as when I heard it at the Dolby Cinema, not as good as I was expecting. The top channels barely did anything and the subwoofers barely did anything. As mentioned earlier, if this was just a 7-channel mix, then yeah, it'd be good. But there was a lot of stuff happening on screen that didn't translate off screen audibly. It sounded kind of like a lazy Atmos mix, and for me personally, left me wanting a whole lot more. I'm gonna go 6 for audio. So what are your thoughts on Wonka on 4K Blu-ray? And what scores would you give it? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Now if you want to pick up this movie, I will leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you again in the next video.